So at the moment, I'm sharing a series of stories about how, when I was extremely addicted and in a very dark place and full of hate and bitterness and cynicism, I become very hard. During that time, I'm sharing how God reached me in really unexpected ways, and I didn't realize it was Him, which was a good thing because I was against the idea of God. I thought it was stupid, and I really hated, particularly, anything to do with the Bible. I just thought that was ridiculous, and I was extremely scathing about it, and I shared as often as I could with anyone that I could how stupid the Bible was and how evil. I used to say that the God of the Bible was evil. And what I found out, not only that I was wrong when I actually carefully read the Bible for myself, and saw how patient He was with evil people. And not only that, but I found that this true God reaches out to people in their suffering because He knows that we're helpless and that we've been deceived, and that because of His love for us, He will reach out to us even while we hate Him, and find ways to speak to us. And I believe He's doing this with every single person at all times. It's just our hearts are very hard and we don't want to listen. So He comes in a sideways way. He comes in a clever way, in a gentle way, sometimes in a strong way. And it may take years before we realize who it is who's been speaking to us. So I hope that this video encourages you. That's my goal with all of this, is to encourage people, and Christians and non-Christians alike, and to just, make you reflect. Maybe you've been missing what He's been saying to you. So anyway, this story is really sweet, actually. It's a lovely story. And well, God was lovely. I wasn't lovely, but God was lovely. So what happened was, at this time, gosh, this must have been about, I can't remember. It was maybe even up to 8 years ago or more, maybe even more, because I was saved in 2020 during COVID, in a drug den. I was saved when I started reading the Bible and I met Jesus. But before that, I had a very cynical view of love. So I didn't believe love existed. So I believed that love was just how people behaved when they got what they wanted from someone. That it was just kind of a symbiosis, and that there was nothing selfless to it. There was nothing self-sacrificial to it. There was nothing genuine. It was fake, basically. All love was fake. My theory was it's that way not just with humans, but with animals as well, and that everyone's just using everyone else to survive and to get what they want. And then when you get what you want, I suppose in humans, I thought, when you get that sort of sexual, satisfaction, then you get this chemical reaction and you think it's love. So I was very cynical. And interestingly, I had a lot of relationships where I was completely obsessed with the other person. But I think this attachment disorder that I had also made me more cynical, because I never saw anything good or peaceful in those relationships, because I was so dysfunctional, and so were my partners. So I was just, yeah, that was my philosophy. And I liked it. I liked this philosophy because it meant that I never needed to be vulnerable. I never needed to worry that I was hurting anyone because it didn't matter. Who cares? Everyone's using everyone. Everyone's hurting everyone. Who cares? So that was my view. And I also thought that I was meaningless, that I was not a created being, and there was no point to life. And I also believed that animals were better than humans, and it would be better if humans just went extinct. So, um, so I started volunteering at a cat shelter in the middle of this madness. One of my boyfriends lived close to a cat shelter, and he told me that it was there. And one day, while we were really high, we drove down there, and I had a chat with them. And I don't know why they said yes, because I don't know. Maybe they didn't realize. Maybe God blinded their eyes that they couldn't see how messed up I was. But I started volunteering, spending a few hours a week with these cats. And it was really great. I highly recommend it. So sometimes I would come in and I'd just be in a fairly good mood because I'd be high and I don't know. But sometimes I'd come in and I would be extremely distressed, anxious, suicidal. I would be in a very unstable emotional state. So I'd sort of hold it together until I got in the room, and then I'd sort of crack with these cats. So I'd be going through the cages and cleaning the cages and socializing with the cats, but I was crying. Sometimes I was like just on the floor, a wreck, you know. And I was, well, I didn't really think about it, but what happened was these cats would come to me. If I was really distressed, they would come to me and they would try and comfort me. And I didn't really think about it too much. It made me cry more, actually, because I could feel this affection coming from them. And I'm not just talking about a few cats. I'm talking about like hundreds of cats, because I was there for 5 years and I met hundreds of cats. And some of them were traumatized, some of them were in pain, some of them had physical disabilities, some of them were recovering from surgery, some of them had come from, neglectful homes, some of them had never received love themselves in their whole lives. And yet these animals were coming to me and trying to comfort me. And I started to, when I wasn't there, I would just think of their eyes. And I would think of their eyes because their eyes were like full of love. And this was, it was messing with me. It also comforted me. I would think of them and I'd feel better. I would cry, but I'd feel better because I was receiving something that I desperately needed, something I didn't know I desperately needed, something I didn't even think was real, and I didn't think was possible, because what I was receiving was selfless care. Even though they were suffering, even though they themselves were not well, even though they had come out of bad situations, a lot of them, they still loved on me. And this went on for 5 years. And some of them, it was crazy. Some of them loved me so much, they went berserk when I came in the room. They'd just pace in front of the cage, staring at me with big eyes and just wanting me to open the cage so they could come and hug me. I would just cry and cry. I'd be crying because I was suicidal and depressed, but then I started crying because I was receiving this love that I so desperately needed. So that went on for 5 years. And it stopped because of lockdown, COVID, and then I met the Lord. And I got the love that I really needed from him, that he was showing me in small doses through these animals. So I didn't think about it too deeply at the time, because I didn't think of anything too deeply at the time, and my mind was chaos. But afterwards, God revealed to me that what I was experiencing was the love that he put in all creatures. And it's selfless. It lays down its life. It gives up its life for the one that it loves. And those cats certainly went out of their way, even in their suffering, to love on me. And love, if it is real, proves that there's more, there's meaning to life, that there's something greater, that we come from something. We're not just meaningless beings. And when you start to see the love that exists in nature and in creation, it will lead you to the source of that love. If you pursue the source of that love, you will find it. So anyway, it's very beautiful, and I thank God for his incredible kindness to me. He really is a loving Heavenly Father, and he reaches out to his rebellious children and calls them daily to him. And maybe this will inspire you to see perhaps where he's speaking to you, even right now, even if you think he's not real, and even if you think he's a joke, he's still there. And he still made you for himself to be loved.